The galaxy was wide and full of many races, each with its own strengths and traditions. Some were known for great ships, some for long lifespans, and others for advanced technology. Yet whenever the Council of Worlds gathered, one name always made the room fall silent: humans. They were a young species compared to others, but their reputation had spread faster than any fleet. Even before they joined the Council, stories about their strange courage had reached distant stars. To the other races, humans were difficult to understand. They were not the strongest in body. The giant Thar were far heavier and stronger. They were not the fastest either. The quick Luan could run at speeds humans could not match. They did not even have the most advanced ships. The Feln had cruisers that looked like flying fortresses. Yet when it came to war, humans stood apart. Their armies did not just fight. They adapted, learned, and pushed forward when others would fall back. That was what made the Council fearful. Rumors often moved faster than truth. In the great halls of the Council, alien diplomats spoke in hushed voices about the humans' military. They said that even the common army of Earth was enough to break through enemy lines. They whispered that human soldiers fought not only with weapons but also with ideas that changed the whole battlefield. The word special forces was said with awe, as if it belonged to a legend. If the regular troops could not be stopped, then what kind of warriors were these special ones? On the distant station of Karun, near the edge of Council space, soldiers from many species gathered. They were waiting for a new joint mission to begin. The room was filled with different voices, colors, and shapes. The Thar soldiers stood tall and massive, their armor creaking as they shifted. The small Luan darted around quickly, unable to stay still. The Feln adjusted their fine gear, proud of their technology. Yet every group, no matter how proud, lowered their voices when talk turned to the humans. They say a single human unit held the line against raiders for 3 days without rest. One Luan soldier whispered to another, "I heard they can survive in harsh worlds with little food or water," replied a Thar, his deep voice low with respect. "They do not fight like us," said a Felon officer. "They fight together as if one mind guides them." The soldiers nodded. None of them had ever fought alongside humans before, but they had all heard the stories. Some believed them, some did not, yet none could ignore them. Among the listeners was a young alien recruit named Tari. She was of the Luan race, small and quick with curious eyes. She had never met a human, but the stories fascinated her. She wondered how a species with such an ordinary body could be feared by so many. She had trained hard to join the Council's army, yet she felt a secret nervousness at the thought of meeting these humans face to face. The Council itself had once debated if humans should even be allowed to keep their armies. Many had voted to limit them, fearing they would grow too strong. But in the end, they had decided not to. No one wanted to challenge humans directly. They knew the cost could be too high. Back on Earth, the humans did not speak much about their reputation. For them, soldiering was not about glory, but about duty. Their armies were large, yes, but every soldier was trained to trust the one beside him. That bond was what outsiders did not understand. A human soldier would fight not because of orders alone, but because of loyalty to his unit. That made them hard to break. Even when tired, even when outnumbered, they would not leave a comrade behind. To other species, this was strange. To humans, it was normal. As the soldiers of different races waited in Karun Station, the doors finally opened. A group of humans walked in. They were not dressed in shining armor like the Feln, nor covered in heavy plating like the Thar. Their uniforms looked simple, almost plain, yet their steps drew every eye. They walked with calm confidence, no rush, no show of pride. At their front was a commander named David, his face calm, his eyes steady. He did not shout or wave his arms. He only gave a nod, and his soldiers moved as one. The room grew quiet. Tari watched them closely. She expected fearsome giants, but these humans looked ordinary. Still, there was something in the way they stood, something in the way their eyes scanned the room. They looked like men and women who had already faced storms and were ready for more. It was a quiet strength, not loud, not boastful, yet stronger than any display. A Thar soldier muttered under his breath, "If these are their common troops, then what do their special forces look like?" No one answered. The question hung in the air like a shadow. Tari felt her heart beat faster. She had wanted to see humans out of curiosity, but now she felt something else. Respect, mixed with a touch of fear. The rumors had not prepared her for this simple truth. Humans did not need to look dangerous to be dangerous. Their presence alone was enough, and so the story began with whispers of fear and respect. The galaxy had already learned to be careful around humans. Even their common army was feared. What lay ahead would show why the Council had reason to whisper, and why the word Special Forces carried weight like no other. The mission on Karun Station was about to begin. Soldiers from different worlds had gathered, each group standing in their own corner of the Great Hall. The air carried both pride and unease. The Thar stood heavy and strong, their massive shoulders filling space. The quick Luen kept shifting from foot to foot, restless and sharp-eyed. The proud Feln polished their fine gear, confident in their machines. Yet when the humans walked in, all the voices softened. Commander David led them. His steps were even, calm, not forced or heavy. His soldiers followed in neat rows, not with stiffness but with natural unity. They looked like ordinary men and women, their uniforms simple, their equipment practical. Still, something about them made the room fall silent. David stopped in front of the council officers who were present to oversee the mission. He gave a short, respectful nod and spoke in a steady voice. Human unit reporting as ordered. Ready for assignment? His words were plain, but the tone carried weight. The alien officers nodded back, trying to hide the nervousness in their eyes. Even those who had never fought beside humans could feel the quiet power in the room. Tari, the young Luen recruit, stood near the back with her group. Her small frame allowed her to slip behind taller soldiers, yet her wide eyes stayed fixed on the humans. They looked so ordinary, and yet she thought no one else in the hall carried themselves like that. It was as if they had already seen the worst of battles and now feared nothing. A Thar soldier beside her leaned closer. They don't even wear heavy armor. Look at them. How do they expect to fight like this? His deep voice rumbled with disbelief. Tari did not answer. She noticed how the humans stood. Their gear might not shine, but their posture spoke of readiness. They were calm but not careless, watchful but not tense. The assignment was announced. A border colony had sent distress signals. Raiders had attacked trade routes, and the Council wanted a joint force to secure the area. Each species had offered troops. Now, for the first time, they would work side by side with humans in a live mission. The announcement brought whispers. Some aliens looked eager, thinking this would prove their strength beside humans. Others looked uneasy, afraid they might fall short. Tari felt a mix of both. As the soldiers were dismissed to prepare, David gave his unit short instructions. His words were clear and simple. Stay sharp. Watch each other. We move as one. His soldiers answered in unison. Yes, sir. The sound was strong but not loud. It was not the kind of roar that other armies used to show strength. It was something quieter yet deeper, like a bond. Tari's commander, a Feln officer, gathered their own group. His orders were longer, more detailed, and full of warnings. He told them to be careful, to follow his every command and not to trust the humans too much. Tari listened, but her eyes kept drifting back to David and his soldiers. They had already left the hall, moving smoothly, almost like shadows. Later, in the docking bay, the joint force gathered to board transport ships. The humans were already there, checking gear, helping each other, speaking in short, easy words. One soldier adjusted another's pack. Another handed water to a comrade. Their teamwork seemed effortless, as if it came from years of trust. Tari's own group was different. The Thar argued about who would carry heavier loads. The Feln were still polishing their equipment, worried more about appearance than speed. The Luen kept moving nervously, speaking too quickly to each other. Tari saw the difference and felt uneasy. When the ships launched, the crews strapped into their seats. The humans closed their eyes for a moment, calm, almost relaxed, while other aliens shifted uncomfortably. The silence in the cabin was heavy. Then David opened his eyes and spoke softly to his squad. Remember, it's not just about strength. It's about each other. Stay with your unit and nothing will break us. Tari heard the words and felt a shiver. He spoke as if the truth was simple yet powerful. She wondered what it would be like to fight under such a leader. The journey to the colony was short, but the tension made it feel longer. When the ships landed, dust rose into the air. The soldiers stepped out onto rough ground. The colony building stood ahead, small and quiet. Smoke drifted from the edges, a sign of recent trouble. The alien troops spread out quickly, some moving too fast, others too slow. The humans, in contrast, formed a steady line. They advanced without rushing, every soldier watching not only the path ahead but also the one beside them. Colonists came out from hiding, their faces pale with worry. They ran toward the soldiers, pointing and speaking quickly. Raiders had taken supplies and damaged defenses. They might return soon. David listened carefully, then gave a short nod. He turned to his soldiers. "Secure the area. Help the colonists. Move fast, stay tight." The humans split into pairs, each moving with smooth purpose. Some helped repair the broken walls. Some checked on the colonists. Others set up watchpoints. Not one of them wasted a step. The aliens tried to follow, but their movements looked clumsy beside the humans. Tari joined in, doing her best, yet she could not take her eyes off the way the humans worked. They did not need long speeches. They did not need to shout. Their strength came from trust, and that trust seemed unshakable. As the sun lowered and the colony grew a little safer, whispers spread again. This was only a common human unit. If they could work like this, what would the legendary special forces look like? Tari thought about it as she set down her gear. She felt the question echo in her mind, and no answer came. The colony was safe for the moment, but the council officers wanted more than protection. They wanted the soldiers from different races to train together, to learn how to fight as one force. It was decided that the humans would lead an exercise on the colony's open grounds. The other troops were curious and uneasy. Training beside humans was something few had ever done. The next morning, the soldiers gathered at a wide field outside the colony walls. The sun rose high, warming the air. Dust clung to boots and armor. The humans stood in a neat line, calm and ready. The other soldiers stood in groups, watching carefully, waiting to see what would happen. Commander David stepped forward. His voice was steady. "Today we train together. You will see how we work, and we will see how you work. The goal is not to win or lose, but to understand." The words were simple yet clear. Tari, the young Luan recruit, listened closely. She wanted to know what made humans so different. The first exercise was about speed and teamwork. The soldiers had to cross rough ground, climb over barriers, and move heavy objects together. The Thar were sure they would win. With their massive strength, they thought the humans would fall behind. At first, the Thar moved quickly, lifting heavy beams with ease, but soon they slowed. Their weight made them less agile, and when they argued about who should lead, time was wasted. The Luan darted across the field with fast legs, climbing and running ahead. But they lacked coordination. Some finished early, others got stuck. Their speed did not matter if they could not move as one. The Feln tried to use their clever tools to cut time. Small machines assisted them, but when one broke down, they argued about repairs. Their pride made them slow. Then came the humans. They moved together in pairs, each watching the other. When one soldier stumbled, two hands reached to pull him up. When a heavy object blocked their path, they lifted it side by side without question. They did not run the fastest, nor did they carry the most weight alone. But they crossed the ground smoothly without stopping, without breaking their line. The council officers timed every group. When the results were shown, silence spread. The humans had finished first. Not because they were stronger or faster, but because they wasted no time. Tari felt her chest tighten. She had expected them to do well, but not like this. She saw how simple their method was: trust, unity, no hesitation. It was something her own people struggled with, and yet these humans made it look natural. The next exercise tested endurance. The soldiers had to run long distances under heavy packs. The Thar struggled because of their size. The Luan started fast, but many collapsed before the end. The Feln slowed down, complaining about weight. The humans, however, kept their pace steady. Sweat ran down their faces, their breaths grew heavy, but none stopped. When one soldier began to lag, another adjusted speed to stay beside him. Together they reached the finish line. Watching this, Tari felt something stir inside her. She had trained hard to be strong and quick, but she had always thought of herself alone. These humans showed her something different: strength in the group. After the exercises, the soldiers rested under the shade. Many sat silently, thinking about what they had seen. Some felt pride wounded, others felt respect growing. A Thar soldier broke the silence. "You humans, you fight as if you share one mind. How is it done?" David looked at him calmly. "It is not one mind. It is trust. We know the one beside us will not leave us behind. That is all." His answer was short, but the meaning was deep. Later, when the sun began to set, David called for one last demonstration. This time, the humans would face all the other soldiers together in a mock battle. The goal was simple: push through the field without being stopped. The aliens prepared eagerly. They outnumbered the humans 3-1. The Thar formed a heavy wall. The Luan spread wide to flank. The Feln used machines to block paths. The humans started moving. Their steps were steady, their line unbroken. The aliens rushed at them, but the humans shifted smoothly, covering each other, never leaving a gap. Every time one was blocked, another stepped forward to help. The aliens shouted, argued, and scattered. The humans stayed silent and moved as one. When the signal horn ended the exercise, the humans had reached their goal. The alien forces were left scattered across the field, frustrated and confused. Tari stood breathless. She had taken part in the mock battle and had tried her best, yet the humans had still broken through. She realized it was not luck or chance. It was the way they trusted each other, the way they refused to fall apart. As night fell, whispers began again. If this was the common human army, what must their special forces be like? The thought made many uneasy. Even without seeing them, the legend of the special forces grew stronger. Tari lay awake that night thinking of David's words. It is trust. Such a simple answer, yet it explained everything she had seen. She wondered if her own people could ever fight like that. She wondered what it meant to truly move as one. And deep inside, she knew she wanted to see more. The training was meant to last several days, but war rarely waits for lessons to finish. On the third morning, alarms echoed across the colony. Red lights flashed through the halls. The colonists ran for cover and the soldiers rushed to their stations. The enemy had arrived. Raiders from beyond the council borders had struck again. Their ships dropped low, firing at the colony's defenses. Dust and smoke rose into the air as explosions shook the ground. The sound of engines and weapons filled the sky. The council officers shouted orders, trying to gather their mixed forces. The Thar roared, slamming on their heavy armor. The Luan scattered quickly, moving with nervous energy. The Feln adjusted their machines, rushing to prepare them. Yet there was confusion everywhere. Too many commands, too many voices. In the middle of the noise, the humans stood calm. Commander David raised one hand and his soldiers gathered in perfect order. He spoke in short, clear words. Hold the line. Protect the colony. Watch your unit. His voice was steady, not loud, but every human heard it and moved at once. Tari felt her heart racing. She tried to stay with her group, but panic spread among the Luan soldiers. Some ran in the wrong direction. Others shouted questions, waiting for answers that never came. She looked toward the humans and saw their line forming. Shields ready, weapons steady. There was no panic, only focus. The first wave of raiders landed, their machines crawling across the sand. They fired wild blasts at the defenses. The Thar charged forward with heavy weapons, but their lack of speed left them exposed. The Luan darted in, fast but scattered, unable to support each other. The Feln machines fired beams of light, precise but slow to reload. The humans advanced in a steady rhythm. They did not rush and they did not scatter. When fire came toward them, they dropped low together, then rose again as one. Their weapons fired in short bursts, not wasting a single shot. When one soldier was pinned, two others covered him until he was safe. Tari could not believe what she was seeing. The humans were outnumbered, yet their line never broke. It was as if they carried an invisible shield made of trust. David gave new orders, short and sharp. Left flank, push forward. Right, hold steady. Middle, advance slow. His soldiers adjusted instantly. The line bent and shifted like water, but it never broke. The raiders had expected fear. They had expected confusion. Instead, they found a wall of humans that did not move back. The raiders fired harder, but the humans adapted, finding new cover, trading places, never letting a gap open. Tari's commander tried to rally the Luan. Move left, hold position, he shouted. But his orders came too late. The humans had already shifted, covering the weak spots before the Luan even moved. Tari felt embarrassed. She wanted to help, but it was the humans who were saving the line. The Thar grew frustrated. They roared and charged again, trying to prove their strength, but they fell into traps the raiders had set. Several were pinned down, unable to move. Human soldiers noticed and moved to cover them, pulling them back without hesitation. The Thar were shocked. They had expected the humans to ignore them, but instead they were treated as part of the unit. The battle stretched on. Smoke thickened in the air and the ground shook with blasts. Yet through it all, the human line moved forward step by step. Raiders began to fall back, surprised by the resistance. They had thought the colony would fall easily. Now they were losing ground. Tari found herself beside David during the fight. She was small and quick, darting between cover, but fear made her hands shake. David noticed. He looked at her only for a second and spoke calmly. "Stay with me. Watch my steps. You'll be fine." The words were simple, but they gave her strength. She followed his movements, copying the way he stayed low, the way he aimed carefully, the way he kept steady even when fire came close. Slowly, her fear began to fade. At last, the raiders pulled back. Their ships rose into the sky, leaving behind wreckage and smoke. The colony stood, damaged but safe. Cheers rose from the colonists who had been hiding. The council officers gathered, shaken but relieved. They had seen with their own eyes what humans could do. Even in chaos, even outnumbered, the humans had turned fear into order and pushed the enemy back. The Thar commander muttered in disbelief. They fought as if nothing could break them. The Feln officer frowned, but his voice was low with respect. "If these are common soldiers, then I fear what their special ones can do." Tari sat on the ground, her body tired, her hands still trembling from the fight. Yet in her heart she felt something new. It was not only respect, it was hope. She had seen how humans turned panic into strength, and she wanted to learn how to do the same. That night, as the colony repaired its defenses, the whispers grew louder. The humans had shown their power once more. They were feared not only for their weapons, but for their spirit. And still a question remained. If the common human army could fight like this, what would the special forces be like? The thought lingered in every mind, heavier than any weapon. The colony was quiet again after the battle, though smoke still rose from broken walls. Soldiers rested, weapons were cleaned, and colonists began repairing their homes. The danger had passed for now, but the memory of the fight remained. Everyone had seen how the humans fought, and everyone was thinking the same question. If this was only the common human army, then what would their special forces be like? The whispers spread quickly. Thar soldiers muttered to each other in low voices. The Feln officers discussed it in private. Even the restless Lewin spoke of nothing else. None of them had ever seen these so-called special forces, yet the idea of them had become more frightening than the raiders themselves. Tari sat near the edge of the camp, her small frame resting against a rock. She had survived the battle thanks to the humans who had covered her. Her thoughts kept circling around Commander David's calm words. He had spoken as if fear itself could be turned into strength. She wanted to understand how humans carried such spirit. Two Thar soldiers sat nearby, their deep voices carrying easily. "Did you see them?" one asked. Not once did their line break. "Yes," the other replied, shaking his head. "And they say those were only regular troops. If they have stronger ones, I do not want to meet them." Tari listened, her curiosity growing. She had thought humans were only different in training, but now she began to wonder if there was something deeper. Later that night, a group of officers gathered in a dim room of the colony hall. They spoke in private, but the walls were thin. Tari, passing outside, slowed her steps and listened. "They are dangerous," a Feln officer whispered. "You saw it. If the council allows them to grow stronger, none of us will be able to match them." "Dangerous, yes," said a Thar commander, "but also useful. They saved the colony. Without them, we would have fallen." The Feln's voice turned sharp. "You do not understand. These were common soldiers. What of the ones they call special? What kind of warriors could those be?" Silence followed. None of them could answer. Tari stepped away quietly, her heart beating fast. She realized the truth. The humans themselves did not speak much of their special forces. The stories came from others, from enemies who had faced them, from allies who had only seen glimpses. The mystery made them even more frightening. The next day, training continued. This time, the humans led smaller exercises with mixed groups. Tari found herself paired with two human soldiers. They spoke kindly to her, guiding her through drills. She noticed they never boasted, never claimed superiority. They only worked hard, trusting each other without question. One of them, a young man named Paul, smiled as he handed her a ration pack. "Eat. You'll need strength for the next round." Tari hesitated. "How do you fight like that? As if nothing can break you?" Paul shrugged. "It's not about being unbreakable. It's about standing for the one next to you. You don't quit, because you know they won't quit on you." His words were simple, but they stayed with her. She thought again of David's calm orders during the battle. Trust, loyalty, unity. These were the true weapons of humans. Meanwhile, across the camp, other aliens kept whispering. Some were impressed, others uneasy. The Feln were especially troubled. They believed in machines and clever tools, not in willpower and loyalty. To them, human strength seemed unnatural. That evening, the colonists held a small gathering to thank the soldiers. They offered food and music, though the mood was still heavy from the attack. The humans accepted quietly, sharing their rations with others, helping the colonists before sitting to rest. Their humility surprised many. Tari watched David as he spoke softly with colonists, asking about repairs and supplies. He did not act like a man who had just led a battle. He looked more like a neighbor offering help. That contrast puzzled her even more. How could someone carry such calm after so much chaos? A group of young soldiers, Thar and Lewin mixed, approached Tari. Their voices were low. "Do you think the special forces are real?" one asked. Tari thought carefully. "I don't know. But if these common soldiers are this strong, maybe the special ones don't need to be real. Maybe the idea alone is enough." Her answer made them pause. They realized she might be right. The fear of what humans could be was already spreading faster than truth. Later that night, as the stars shone above the quiet colony, Tari lay awake on her bunk. She remembered the raiders fleeing, the humans standing firm, and the whispers that grew stronger after every victory. She thought of David's calm eyes, of Paul's simple answer, and of the question that none could answer. If this was the common human army, then what was hidden behind the words, special forces? Her heart told her she would soon find out. The colony had recovered, but rumors of new raiders reached the council almost immediately. This time the threat was larger and stronger. Ships hovered closer to the planet, armed with heavier weapons and more soldiers. The council quickly assembled the mixed force again, and all eyes turned to the humans. Commander David and his squad were ready. They did not rush or boast. Their calm presence, even under the shadow of a stronger enemy, reassured the alien soldiers. The other troops, however, were tense. They had faced humans in battle before, but now the challenge seemed far greater. Tari prepared alongside them, her nerves tight but her mind determined. She had trained with the humans and seen their teamwork, but this time, the test would be real. She remembered Paul's words. "You don't quit because you know they won't quit on you." She repeated them quietly to herself. The humans deployed in a small unit, their movements precise. Each soldier seemed to know exactly where to be, even before orders were given. The aliens watched in silence, feeling both admiration and fear. The raiders began their descent, their ships dropping low and weapons ready. David spoke only once. "Hold together. Move as one. Watch each other." His soldiers nodded without question, forming a perfect line. Tari felt the rhythm of their unity as if it had a heartbeat of its own. The first wave of raiders attacked. Explosions shook the ground and alien soldiers scattered to find cover. Panic rose among the newcomers, but the humans stayed steady. They advanced, covering each other's backs. When one soldier's weapon jammed, another adjusted immediately, firing in their place. Tari ran alongside them, amazed. Every move the humans made seemed planned and natural. They didn't need orders shouted or signals repeated. The enemy could not predict them, and the aliens around them could barely keep up. David led his unit forward, bending and shifting like water across the battlefield. They avoided traps and countered attacks with clever timing. When the raiders tried to flank them, the humans adjusted instantly, forming walls where none existed before. The aliens gasped at the precision. One young Lewin soldier who had been nervous all morning whispered to Tari, "They are everywhere at once." "How do they do that?" Tari shook her head. "I think it is not about being everywhere. It is about trusting each other. They move as one, so it seems like more than they are." As the fight continued, the raiders began to retreat. They had expected an easy victory, but these humans were different. Even though they were outnumbered, they never wavered. The aliens realized that the human strength was not in weapons or numbers, but in the bond between them. Suddenly, a small group of raiders broke through the perimeter and charged at a weak point in the human line. Before the aliens could react, David signaled. Two humans moved to block them. Another flanked from behind, and within moments the enemy was surrounded. No shot was wasted. No movement unnecessary. The raiders fell back in confusion. Tari felt her heart racing. She had never seen anything like this. The humans were not only strong, they were clever, coordinated, and fearless. Each soldier acted as if the others were an extension of themselves. Fear had no place in their minds. After the battle ended, the aliens stood in awe. The humans had cleared the field completely. Not one had retreated or panicked. They had protected the colony, helped the injured, and maintained their line as if nothing could touch them. Even the council officers were quiet, their faces reflecting both relief and amazement. A Thar commander finally spoke, his deep voice trembling slightly. "If these are regular soldiers, I cannot imagine what the special forces would be like." The Felon officer nodded, silent for a moment, then said, "I believed humans were dangerous before. Now I know it is true. Their power is not only in strength. It is in unity, in trust, in spirit." Tari stood beside the humans, exhausted but proud. She had felt their calm, followed their steps, and survived. But more importantly, she had seen their true power. It was not in weapons or speed or size, it was in their minds and hearts. David looked over his soldiers. "Good work. Stay sharp. Rest when you can, but remember why we fight. Not for glory, but for each other." Tari repeated the words quietly in her mind. She realized the humans had proven something far more important than skill. They had shown that spirit. Courage and loyalty could turn even impossible battles into victories. As night fell, whispers spread again among the aliens. The common human soldiers had done the impossible. If they could achieve this, then the legendary special forces must be more than a story. They must be beyond imagination. For Tari, one thought stood above all others. She wanted to be part of that strength. She wanted to learn the way humans moved, thought, and fought together. She had seen their power, and she knew it was something the galaxy had never seen before. And so, the question remained in every mind. If this was only the common human army, what wonders did the special forces hold? The colony was calm once more. Repairs were underway and the soldiers rested, but the events of the past days were still fresh in everyone's mind. Stories of the humans' actions spread faster than the repairs themselves. Aliens who had witnessed their courage could not stop talking about it, and even those who had only heard whispers were full of awe. Tari sat quietly on a small hill overlooking the colony. She watched the humans move about, helping wherever needed, laughing quietly among themselves. They did not seek praise. They did not boast, yet everything they did carried weight. Every step, every decision, every act of kindness or courage told the story of a people who were strong because they trusted one another completely. A Thar commander walked past, nodding toward the humans. "The council feared humans," he said. "Not just for weapons, not just for ships, but for this. Their spirit. Their will. Even the common army is enough to unsettle the galaxy. I understand now." Tari thought about what he said. She had learned more in these days than in months of her own training. Strength alone was not enough. Power alone did not win battles. It was the bond between soldiers, the trust that each one would never leave another behind, that made humans extraordinary. That afternoon, David gathered his unit for one last briefing before leaving the colony. His calm presence drew attention. The alien soldiers who had watched the humans closely now stood in respectful silence. Tari noticed how even the most proud Thar and Feln officers listened quietly, as if learning from something far greater than any machine or weapon could teach. David spoke simply. "We did what we had to do. Protecting the colony was not just about fighting. It was about standing together. If you learn anything from humans, learn that strength is nothing without trust. Courage is nothing without loyalty, and victory is nothing without unity." The words were quiet, but every soldier felt them. Tari felt them in her chest. She realized the humans had not only saved the colony, they had shown a lesson the council could not ignore. Later, as the humans prepared to depart, colonists came forward to thank them. Hands were shaken, words of gratitude were offered, and smiles were exchanged. Yet the humans accepted quietly. They offered encouragement, gave advice on rebuilding, and shared rations with those who needed them. They left no trace of pride, only care and respect. Tari followed them to the transport ships. She wanted to speak to David to tell him how much she had learned, but he already seemed to understand. He only gave a nod, a small, calm smile, and said, "Keep what you learned. It is more important than any weapon." The humans boarded their ships and took off. Dust rose into the air as engines hummed. The aliens watched in silence, many thinking the same thought. If the common human army could move and fight like this, what power lay in the special forces? That night, around campfires and in quiet rooms, aliens spoke of the humans not as threats, but as something extraordinary. They respected them, feared them, and most of all, they wanted to understand them. Tari lay in her bunk, staring at the stars, thinking of all she had seen. She knew she would never forget these lessons. In the following weeks, the Council sent reports across the galaxy. They wrote of the humans' courage, their tactics, and their unity. They spoke of how humans fought as one, cared for each other, and turned fear into strength. Every officer and soldier who had witnessed it included the same warning. Humans were not to be underestimated. Even their common army was a force that could not be ignored. Tari trained harder after that. She tried to move with trust in her unit, to follow the humans' example. Every day she remembered the calm of David, the steady steps of Paul, and the way the humans never gave up. She could not match their skill yet, but she learned the lesson behind the power. Months later, the colony held another festival to celebrate their survival. The humans were gone, but their memory lingered. Children played games pretending to be human soldiers. Adults spoke of teamwork and courage in their daily tasks. The humans had left a mark far deeper than any battle could create. Tari looked at the stars that night. Somewhere out there, humans traveled to other worlds, quietly making their way through the galaxy. She thought of their special forces, still a mystery, and smiled. Even without seeing them, she knew they existed in spirit, in loyalty, in courage, in the will to protect each other no matter what. The lesson of humanity was clear. Strength alone did not make a warrior. Intelligence alone did not make a hero. Unity, loyalty, courage, and trust created a force that could stand against anything. The galaxy had learned that lesson well, and Tari knew she would carry it for the rest of her life. Even the Council understood it now. Humans were more than just a species. They were a symbol of what true power could be. And as long as humans stood together, no force in the galaxy could underestimate them. The stars shone bright over the colony that night, calm and quiet. Tari closed her eyes, feeling a sense of hope and awe. Humans had proven themselves, and she had seen their spirit. The story of humanity was just beginning, and the galaxy would never forget it.